What's up, everybody? It's my show with Scott Kosek. We're coming to you. We ain't brave enough to go live, at least not yet. Friday, September 26, 2025. Yeah, let's go. Yeah. So, it's weird. It's a Friday night, and as you can see, there's my Steubenville's Big Red thing from Dave Barnhouse, my mini Big Red helmet, and right now, and I'm here talking to a camera from the serious chair. Me get my bearing. We're in the serious chair. Cheers to you folks out there. Isaac Bowman Port Barrel finish tonight, my go-to. So listen, don't leave because you see me in the serious chair. I think a lot more what we're going to talk about over whenever is going to be the serious stuff. You might get some serious stuff from over there too, especially whenever I get some people to come and chat with me. But I don't mind sitting here talking about stuff myself. I'm pretty good at talking. For those of you that know me, you know that maybe some days it's really good to give me the wave from down at the end of the aisle rather than come up close and say, hey, what's up, Scott? Scott's going to tell you what's up. It might take 25 minutes. Not sorry. Anyhow, so I have notes. I've got pages open up on the computer tonight. There's some stuff I'd really like to go through. So the essence of everything is going to be a continuing narrative. If you hope that you've watched other stuff that I've put together, there are little tidbits of things that are in all of those things that correlate. I'm just here to share what's here with all of you out there. Hope you're having a good Friday evening. I'm sure you won't see this on Friday evening unless it's really, really late. Like I said, it's in the middle of football games right now, and I'm sitting here talking. So yeah, my shows are going to have different things that I'm going to continue to talk about, bring up different subject matter, things that I've talked about before. One of the things that I've been sharing, actually one of the things that I've been going through for quite a while now is reading. I highly encourage everybody out there to start picking up things and reading them, preferably books. Reading books helps you with a lot of different things. Reading enhances overall intelligence by strengthening cognitive functions, including fluid and crystallized intelligence, and boosting emotional intelligence. We are emotionally bankrupt from every different possible way that you can think of. This is how I'm having a conversation with you. You know what I mean? We're really spread apart. Technology is the only way for us to really reach out to one another. We're only involved in each other's lives as far as how plugged into the algorithm we are on somebody's feed on whatever social media they're on. So if you're not actively involved seeking out me and what I'm talking about, you're not going to hear me or know anything that I'm talking about. None of the same is true for you. I know I'm friends with a whole bunch of different, everybody that watches me, all 100 people that watch me. I've had more than 150 views on one of my videos, but at any rate, maybe 100 people that watch me, I'm certain are friends of mine on Facebook or customers or something, relatives, whatever. I don't know how much of this you would get from me knowing me outside of seeing me on here. So I find that kind of weird. That's definitely kind of weird. But at any rate, this is where we're at. This is socially, this is it, which is it's an oxymoron because social interaction would be to be literally around one another and interacting with one another. And this is through some type of a medium, which, by the way, they love. I am going to refer to they. I don't have a definition of they. You fill in your own blanks for who they are. Mossad, CIA, who knows? Your governor, your old vice principal. I don't know. They exist. They really do exist. Get used to it. I will definitely refer to they, and I don't need to have a definition for they because it's my show and I'm Scott Kosek. Anyway, so why should we read? Well, like I said, fluid intelligence, crystallized intelligence, emotional intelligence. We are emotionally bankrupt people, especially guys. I feel. I mean, I can only speak for the guys because I'm a guy, right? So. I'm sure that there is poor emotional fitness, emotional health, emotional fitness. We tend to not have either. So it doesn't really matter the difference between health and fitness. We are fed things on like a social media diet. We get like these tiny little clips of things that's nowhere near giving you any kind of context behind things. We get 15-second clips, 30-second clips that just really try to condense things down into like the most basic of things, right? And we have turned into having goldfish attention spans. If we don't even do anything but read headlines anymore, we can't digest like full stories and context of what's going on with those stories. We just can't. So this is why I'm encouraging you to read for these very reasons. Of course, you hear me say something like fluid intelligence and you're like, okay, that's beyond my 15-second window. So fluid intelligence is the cognitive ability to solve new, unfamiliar problems and think abstractly, identify patterns, and reason logically without relying on previously learned information by reading. So I understand now why all those years ago coming through school, they wanted us to read all these books. They wanted us to be well read. I don't know if that's still the thing in schools anymore, if that's just the thing for the kids that they plan on trying to convince to go to college to get themselves in debt for a degree that they're not going to use. Key aspects of fluid intelligence: novel problem solving, abstract reasoning, adaptability, working memory. First of all, time's going by like exponentially quick. The longer you live, the smaller time becomes. Like a year to me now is 1/50th of my life. A year to my grandson is 1/4 of his life. My other grandson, a year is like a half of his life. So yeah, as we get older, time is just marching by, not slowing down at all. We need to problem solve. We need to see things and analyze them for exactly what they are. I know that there's a lot of different things that I want to get to and talk about as it pertains to the ways of our world, where we're at as a society, how the thought process of community has seemed to have disappeared and gone away, how our social interaction is now through media, and why is that a problem? Well, I think if you would read and start having better fluid intelligence, you would be able to solve new unfamiliar problems, like why is our social interaction that goes through a media source, how or why could that be a problem? I hope to hash this out throughout all of the different shows that I have planned for coming along. So that's one of the things. Fluid intelligence. You increase fluid intelligence by reading. The other thing was crystallized intelligence. Crystallized intelligence is the accumulation of knowledge, skills, and information acquired through experiences and education over a lifetime. It's the ability to apply this stored knowledge to solve problems, understand concepts, and perform tasks. One of the things that has come up for me recently is I find through reading, especially the classics, it makes me try to apply things to other things that I see. It helps me to understand what kind of problems are we facing, and maybe even better than that, which problems are actually solvable and which problems are much bigger, much more fundamentally established that we ain't going to do nothing about it. I mean, you can get mad all you want that there's certain things going on in the world. One of the things that you're going to find out about me as I talk into this camera and you listen to what I have to say is I am definitely in the middle. I am not left. I am not right. There are certain things that I think left about. There are certain things that I think right about. I think if you were to compare notes, I think most people fit a lot closer in the middle than you might believe. I think that if we had a 100 question questionnaire that was strictly like true and false, A or B, how do you feel about this? I think that you would find that most people are somewhere in the middle of a lot of those different things. I truly believe that. I've had tons of conversations with tons of different people from tons of different backgrounds of all different ethnicities, walks of life, countries of origin, that sort of thing. And I'm telling you that you may have some outlier here or there about certain things as it pertains to how you feel. But most of us in our day-to-day walk, how things are, we generally see eye to eye, even on things that you don't think so. Like I know that a lot of conservative leaning friends would say that they are absolutely dead set against crime and people doing wrong. Did you know that 54% 54% of people, of church-going evangelicals, report using porn, like currently use porn. But that's not seemingly a priority, because that, I don't know, that's like one of those unseen, unspoken about things. I think that if you really compared that to the law of God, you would know that that is a wrong thing that people shouldn't be involved with. But you want troops on the ground, boots on the ground in cities that you don't even live in, because you're told by somebody to be frustrated about something that's going on someplace that you don't even see, you're not even a part of, and you don't even understand the background of why that stuff exists in those places to begin with. Anyway, read books. It's going to help your intelligence. It's going to help you think for yourself. It's going to help you to not listen to the people that claim that they identify as being just like you, telling you what you're supposed to think and how you're supposed to react to different things. So right now, this is what I'm into. I'm reading this. It was one of the books that I was supposed to read all those many years ago. Again, huge shout out to Mrs. Craig. I know that Mrs. Craig is deceased, but one of my favorite teachers, was not always one of my favorite teachers. In fact, when I was a freshman, I really didn't like Mrs. Craig, because I knew that Mrs. Craig and we had completely different worldview at that time. I can't remember if it was later in that year or if it was the following year, because I'm pretty sure that I had her freshman and sophomore year. But I remember her telling me at some point in time that, listen, I know that you and I don't think alike, but I want you to be able to articulate the point of view that you're coming from, and I want you to be able to think for yourself. So you read, you digest it, you report on it, you have information to support your argument and your point of view, and I don't have any choice but to give you a good grade, because that's what I'm here to teach you to do. I'm not here to teach you how I view things on like a worldview. And I don't know, that just had like a really, really good, deep impact on me. So Moby Dick. Yeah, so I picked Moby Dick. We're coming into the season of Halloween. I like to read either like something scary, something suspenseful, something ominous. So I thought that this was one that, from what I've been told by different people and doing some of the homework on what this book is about, this is why I decided to read this book. But the reason why I even share this book with you is because there's kind of like a scene here and a quote that I wanted to kind of put into what we're talking about tonight, because it really goes along with the overall narrative of what all I'm trying to say. So in chapter 9 of Moby Dick, the chapter is called The Sermon. And so if you've never read the book, I'm not very much further past this at the moment, but if you've ever read the book is being narrated by a character named Ishmael. And what's happened in the book so far is that he's coming to a town to get on a whaling ship. When he gets to town, the last ship had left, and so now he's like there for the weekend, having to wait until that following Monday to find a ship to go out and be a part of. And so that Sunday he's in the church, and the church is full of all of these different people who are somehow connected into the shipping world. And with like fishing, whaling, this would have been a time that all of your lamp oil, lanterns, street lights and everything like that, things would have all been run off of whale blubber back then. The whole reason why people went out was because they were getting a much needed thing for lights and things of that nature, because we hadn't really converted everything over to oil just yet. But it was something that a lot of different people went and put their life on the line to go and do, because at the end of the day, a lot of ships don't come back, and that puts a lot of hardship on the areas that those boats came out of and everything. I'm getting way off track. Anyhow, so Moby Dick, he's listening to this sermon, because he's got to wait till Monday to get on a ship. The sermon is about Jonah. So Jonah, biblical story, God told him that he needed to go preach to these people. He was basically like, yeah, right, I am not doing that. In fact, I am going to get on a ship and I'm going to go to the exact opposite end of the known world to completely get away from the people that you want me to go see, because those people are rough and tough and wicked and evil, and they are not going to listen to me, and I don't want nothing to do with them. So thanks God, but no thanks God. So this guy is giving a sermon about Jonah, and I just think this little snippet in this book is a really interesting thing, and it really ties into where we are at in our world. Anyway, chapter 9, the sermon. Now Jonah's captain. This is the preacher in the story. This is him quoted. Quote. Now Jonah's captain shipmates. So he's calling everybody shipmates because it's like it's a shipping town. Even like the description of him getting into the pulpit. The pulpit has like a ladder to get into, almost like he's climbing into a ship. With everybody in the town being connected to the shipping industry some way, somehow, the whaling industry mostly, he's just calling everybody shipmates because it just kind of goes along with the flavor and that of the town. Now Jonah's captain shipmates was one whose discernment detects crime in any, but whose cupidity exposes it only in the penniless. In this world, shipmates, sin that pays its way can travel freely and without a passport, whereas virtue, if a pauper, is stopped at all frontiers. So Jonah's captain prepares to test the length of Jonah's purse. Ere he judge him openly, he charges him thrice the usual sum, and it's assented to. Then the captain knows that Jonah is a fugitive, but at the same time resolves to help a flight that paves its rear with gold. Your intelligence might be such that you're able to take context clues of what's being talked about in there and figure that stuff out. But do you know what cupidity means? I didn't. I had to look it up. What else was in it? Ere he judge him openly. Thrice the usual sum. You should probably be able to figure that one out with context clues. And it's assented to. What does all this mean? So let me read this kind of in some layman's terms. So the captain of Jonah's ship, he could see crime. I'll use the word sin. He could see sin in anybody, but his cupidity, his greed, only exposes it in the penniless. In other words, I see sin in everybody, but only the ones that cannot benefit me am I going to call out. The ones who can help me be on my platform, the ones who can help me in whatever I'm trying to do, will look a blind eye. So out of that 54% of the evangelical church that looks at porn, some of them might do something for your church, your local body of corporate whatever. Do you get okay, anyway. Other words, Jonah's captain, one whose discernment detects crime in any, detects sin in everybody, but whose greed, his cupidity, exposes it only in the penniless. Only those that cannot benefit me am I going to yell foul and cry, heretic, lawbreaker. Call people do-gooders. Why don't we call people do-batters? Bunch of do-batters. In this world, sin that pays its way can travel freely and without a passport. You don't need official papers to be able to go wherever you want. You can get to Epstein Island just fine if you can pay your way, if you can do your part, if you can help some kind of a business mogul do what he's trying to do to set up data centers all throughout the world. And now all of a sudden we have some way to figure out how to create more supply of electricity on a degraded electric grid. We'll eventually get there, but like I said, we gotta lay some ground first before we get there. I need very fully functioning, thinking, pre-thought people before we get to the data centers, Palantir, the CIA, Mossad. What's really going on? You think it's about Charlie Kirk and what kind of stuff's going on there? It's all distraction. It's all fodder. Anyway. In this world, shipmates, sin that pays its way can travel freely and without a passport, whereas virtue, if a pauper, is stopped at all frontiers. Let me give you a definition. Virtue is a quality or trait considered morally good and excellent, such as honesty, courage, or compassion, that is practiced and developed through effort and action. If a pauper is stopped at all frontiers, doing the right thing, it's stopped. So even if you're penniless, even if you're a pauper and you're doing the right thing, that does not go well. That is That's a no-no. So Jonah's captain prepares to test the length of Jonah's purse ere he judge him openly. Before he judges him openly, the captain wants to see, how deep's your pocket, bro? He charges him thrice the usual sum. He charges him 3 times how much it would normally cost to get on the boat. And it's assented to means it's agreed to. Now, the reason why this is he's sitting there saying basically like, if I could take advantage of you, if I could charge you 3 times the normal fare and you're willing to pay it, then I know something's up, bro. But I ain't going to say nothing because I know I can get 3 times normal fare out you, right? You're not going to say nothing because you know that you're somebody that's in the wrong in whatever it is that you're doing. Otherwise, you wouldn't be trying to pay 3 times the fare. Captain knows that he's a fugitive, but at the same time resolves to help a flight that paves its rear with gold. We see that. We see that all the time. That's why I'm talking about the idea of these data centers. And like I said, I'm not going to delve into data centers, but I am going to just talk just a brief second about, you know, over the past 10 years, you've heard things about like rolling brownouts and places having blackouts because like people were given instructions by their state power, like the electricity and whatnot in their states. California was definitely one of those places. And they really came at people with this idea of like, you are using too much electricity and you're putting too much of a burden on the system. And because of that, we're going to shut down different areas at different times because we don't have the capacity to meet the demand that's on the system. And yet, because of AI, we're going to get to eventually, Lord willing, you have this incredible demand on electricity right now to where everybody who's listening to my voice, your electric bill has gone up. Some people are getting bills for like $600 to $1,000 a month for like homes and apartments that 2 people live in. What? So why read? I told you. We need emotional intelligence. We need fluid intelligence. We need crystalline intelligence. And the reason why you need these things is because you need to be able to have free thought about the things that are being told to you on a daily, consistent basis. I've been very adamant, stop watching the corporate news, stop watching mainstream news. I would even be so bold as to argue maybe stop listening to some of the different people that you're plugged into. I won't outright say that you need to stop listening to them, but I will say that you need to at least have some of your own personal ability to think and be able to have discernment so that when you're watching these different people, you can really kind of test what they're saying. So look, this is the book that I really want you guys to read. Maybe not necessarily. I don't care what I do care about what translation you read because there are some out there that are designed specifically to make you have a specific theological viewpoint, which some of that isn't correct. And some of that is the exact reason why we're having a lot of the different problems that we're having in the world today, period. I thought I was going to be talking about conspiracies and God and existentialism and stuff, right? I am. I really am. Reading is going to help you digest a lot of what I'm talking about. You have to be able to think for yourself. You have to. Thinking for yourself is going to help you answer question number 1 from our previous episode. For those of you that weren't there, you didn't watch, question number 1, who am I? Question number 2, why am I here? Question number 3, what is wrong with the world? Question number 4, how could what's wrong in the world be made right? Those are the key questions that are asked by anybody who is sitting pondering their existence or just existence, period. For you to answer question number 1, who am I? You have got to be able to think for yourself. You have to. And I will say that one of the reasons why this is a very important book for you to pick up and read. Listen, all those years of going to school, all those different fantastic novels that all those different fantastic teachers gave me to read, I didn't read any of them. I cheated my way all through middle school and high school because I was in such a rush to just get through it and just be done on the other side. I could care less if I ever had anything to do with school ever again. And there's a reason for that. And the reason for that is because school is designed in such a way that's really just trying to get people to be able to not think for themselves, push buttons when they're told to push buttons that can produce things out of the factory or the system of choosing. And that's that. They designed the whole process to be to where you could either be a senseless rube that is just able to pull the levers, push the button, make sure that the thing's coming off the end of the line, or be somebody that was able to memorize and regurgitate what they were told on command. Those people get to be the low-level managers, or sometimes, if they're smart enough, the mid-level managers. But you ain't getting to the top floor unless you have the right background, you have the right bloodline, you have the right being plugged into for you to be able to do that. So you got to be able to think for yourself. You really need to know the Word of God to have a better understanding for all of this stuff. The whole reason why all this exists, the reason why there are two completely different worldviews as far as why am I here? Who am I? Why am I here? What's wrong with the world? How could what's wrong in the world be made right? All of that stuff exists from these two very distinct worldviews. And those worldviews are God's system and the beast system. And unfortunately, a lot of what so many people are plugged into, knowingly or not, willingly or not, is the beast system. A lot of stuff has been dressed up to be a good thing when it isn't necessarily a good thing. But if you can think for yourself, you're definitely going to know the answer to question number one. You're definitely going to know the who am I. When I ask myself, who am I? The first thing is a follower of Christ. That is without a doubt. You could probably have multiple blank spaces before you get to the next thing, because inserting there all of the different monikers that you are. I'm an American. Nope, that's not important enough. You know what kind of stuff? We'll get there. We will get there. I know that I'm an American. I'm happy that I'm an American. I know that I'm able to do this right here because I'm an American. But what is at the absolute chief central focus of who I am? Who am I? If I only had one word, Christian. Unfortunately, that is a title that's been hijacked, and we'll get into that too. But for me, follower of Christ needs to be the answer to that. It's not to brag. It's not to boast. I'm involved with Steubenville Athletic Boosters. Steubenville Big Red Boosters, I think, is our official title. There is a gentleman that has been involved with that for a very long time, and he tells me, he's quite vocal to say whenever we start talking, everything, no matter what you're involved with, has a very difficult time of getting people to come and be involved. That is certainly not exempt from that. I'll say it that way. But he says all the time, we need boosters, not boasters. And he's absolutely right. You need people that are going to be about what it's about. And honestly, for like that particular thing, all we're trying to do is raise money for the sporting programs of Steubenville High School. But you do have people that are card-carrying boosters that do so just so they can boast. And that's the same in anything. I really want to point out to all of my Christian brothers and sisters that there are a lot of different people that will use that moniker as a boast, not because they're trying to boost, but because they're trying to boast. And I would say that in this day and age, there is a real ramping up of something that is, it sounds close, it smells similar, it feels kind of similar. It's not being a follower of Christ. I think I'm going to leave it there. I hope I didn't lose you along the way. I really hope that you continue to take this journey with me as I try to articulate my view of where we're at. I think I have a very good temperature of where our society is at the moment. I don't think that it's completely lost. I really don't. I just think that a lot of powerful things and a lot of powerful entities are really crafty at making things appear different than what they actually are, at any rate. Thank you very much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. Please follow, subscribe. I don't even know. I don't know the things you're supposed to do. Comment, like, share, subscribe. I don't know. at any rate. Until next time, thank you very much. Good night.